Alright. Hey. Yeah, I mean.
So we done to take off.
Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against fitting with a little bit of soul, no times.
We're back. Welcome to the Please Remain Calm podcast. I'm Ben Gonzalez.
And I'm Daniel Gonzalez.
And we have our guest with us, Charles Boswell, Captain Charles Boswell of the LA City Fire
Put some
Department.
respect on it, dude.
Yeah.
Put some respect
I know,
on it.
man's here in uniform. We're here in various states of dress. I'm rocking sweats. You have socks on, or
I don't know. I go
this
sockless
man
with
is
these Vans, dude.
sockless.
This is
Yeah,
Venice.
you know what I mean? A beach comber. And then we got this guy.
Captain Boswell,
Boswell.
welcome.
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here.
It's cool having. I'm gonna call you Boz, if that's okay.
That is
Oh,
Yeah,
Boz,
that's okay.
like Brian Bosworth.
There it is.
It's funny, man, because you get on the fire department.
Yeah.
And it's just like life, you know. You go through stages, you know what I
For
mean.
sure.
And you get on, you're all bright-eyed about the job and so excited, and going to fires and stuff is so exciting. And then you get used to it, and it's kind of normal for you and stuff like that. And then you kind of your body starts hurting, you start winding down. So
Yeah.
you go through all these stages.
You're a little bit
know?
over it, yeah.
And it's cool because when I first got on the job and I was working at Nines and downtown at the busy spots and stuff like that, and I'd run into sod days with Boz here on the rescue.
Mm-hmm.
He was in that stage where he was already studying to be a captain and transitioning from being a firefighter to being, you know, a leader on the job.
So how many years on?
Well, it's coming on 30 years next month.
Man,
Yeah,
it's
when you
awesome.
guys first crossed paths?
I don't know.
20 plus years ago.
Yeah, 15, 16, 17 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, all right.
So it's been a long time, and you know, you run into people like that in different stages along the way, and you pick up, you learn things from everybody on the job. You know,
Yeah,
right.
the old timers when you get on, especially, but it's not just fire department stuff. It's, you know, life stuff.
life
you
stuff,
live with
yeah.
these guys and stuff like that. So especially
sure.
right on the rescue, you know, you have good conversations and stuff like that. So it's good to have you here, man.
Thank
You know,
you.
we hadn't seen each other. We ran into each other last week or so at the hospital.
Yeah,
but
it's an honor to be here.
Oh, yeah?
yeah.
How about that?
So
So Boz was the guy who kind of guided your path.
yeah,
a
you know,
little bit.
just
young paramedic Danny.
yeah, we had good conversations
Yeah.
about what the job was like, what expectations were, you know, what to look out for on the job, and what traps not to fall into and stuff like just normal. And I've had this thought in the past, man, like it would be nice to have a little video camera on the dashboard of the rescue and capture those conversations that you have
Oh, I'm sure,
in the
dude.
front seat.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've been doing this for 18 years. I've been a medic now, and before that, you know, EMT, and you got some great conversations with some good people in the front seat of that rescue.
You're in the box 24, 48 hours.
And that's kind of what it was working with Boz or other guys that have a little bit more time on the job, a little bit more life experience. You know, you pick up little bits of wisdom from everybody as you're going along, and I always had that sense and picked up things like that from you when we worked together.
Absolutely.
Always appreciated
you know, and it's a calling. You know, not everybody really understand the makeup of what we do,
for sure.
and the tragedies and the complexity of our work. But once you have your fellow comrade, it's kind of like two soldiers in the battlefield, and it's like, you know, we're going to find that common bond. You know?
Yeah.
There's
Exactly.
there's no political stripes, no religious stripes or anything like that. It's just the purpose and the mission that we operate under.
Yeah, definitely. And you can say that too for working where you guys worked. That's a place where you're only going to know it if you lived it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's another cool thing too, is running into guys like that have worked in those places also.
Right,
You know what I mean? And I've always been, you know, it's funny, man. You get out of the drill tower, and it's a scary thing, dude. You're doing this job, and it's scary.
Yeah.
Going into fires is scary.
Yeah.
Going in and, oh shit, this life depends on me. It's scary, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially when you're first starting off and stuff like that. So when you go and work busy places and you meet that kind of fear, you know, head on, and you realize,
over
okay,
and over,
and you
yeah.
own it and you get better at it and stuff like that. It's nice to run into guys that have done that their whole career too,
Right.
and weren't afraid to, you know, work at busy spots, weren't afraid to get the experience. Those are the guys that you picked up the most from,
Yeah.
you know, along the way. How did you get into the fire service? Let's take it way back.
Way back.
Well,
you know, I'm
Back into time.
I'm a young man from what they call South Central LA, you know, LA area.
Okay.
Third generation.
Where you go to high school?
I was scheduled to go to manual arts. Things got
all
rough
right.
in the early 80s, and then I ended up we relocated to Pasadena. So I went to Blair High School, but
Okay.
my junior high school was John Muir and 61st Street School. And, you know, my parents lived off of Central Avenue in the 40s and 50s, and my grandparents
Yeah.
before that. And
Yep.
my kids are in the LA area. So Very community oriented growing up. Had a lot of, friends that were very protective. So Danny and I, it's natural for me to sort of be a big brother, and I've always had big brothers looking out for me. And,
Right on.
that element of what fear or threat, that natural theme of survival, you kind of feel you put yourself in this place of like sort of being a warrior, and
Right.
you know what your purpose is. You wake up and you move with a certain understanding of what you need to do in the flow of the day, and you're focused. And so this career was something that was drawn to me as service to my community, which wrestled with a lot of dynamics, to put it mildly, in the 80s and 90s. And, my father and my mother were extremely instrumental in my growth and development. It was real simple. You just survive a day. Survive one day, you'll be okay. And then the next day, you repeat the process.
Right on, yeah.
That's
they're,
it.
they're already getting tidbits.
Yeah,
See what I'm
nuggets,
talking
right?
about,
Yeah,
man?
look at this.
I'm just driving the rescue like,
Yeah,
damn,
look at
he
this.
is
I'm
right.
on a ride along
You're
here.
right, Buzz.
Yeah, you know
Well,
what I'm saying?
but that made, and I remember, always working with Danny, and, he's got, family on, and they were mentors to me. So you don't get away from giving back because,
Yeah.
somebody gave to you,
Sure, yeah.
and so that's what really keeps.
That's kind of the beauty of, the fire family, that they call it, is like, it really does feel like that, man. Even like now, the guys that are coming up now that I run into, or rookies that come through the station and stuff like that, you do get this sense like, all right, little man, come here, dude. You know what I mean? Like, come here, let me show you the way,
Yeah, right.
Let me give you the little pointers that I
Yeah.
picked up,
Yeah.
It's cool, man. It really does. Really does have a family feel this whole career.
Yeah, the best of families, and sometimes a little bit
Yeah.
of the dysfunction.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
it's always inside the confines of our, our little circle.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of things that we're exposed to, which we'll touch bases on in regards to the behavioral health piece. But I'm glad to be here. It's great that you guys utilize this platform to kind of shed a little bit of light of our world.
Yeah.
Most of the
Appreciate
time,
that.
we're very protective in a sense because our exposure to the things we've seen and been in and encounter, we're a little guarded in regards to letting our families know all the graphic details.
Right,
Exactly.
Right.
So we kind of paint the safe story. We make sure everybody's happy at home, and we're sort of the protectors and providers for our families.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we don't want to scar them.
Yeah, we totally get that. That's why we like to have this space where people can open up,
Yeah.
let it out,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it gives people at home a chance to get a taste of it.
Just a little sound.
And it helps. I think it helps to like the firefighters that we've had in here talking about the different challenging experiences that they've had, whether it's been on the job or outside in real life. It humanizes this job a little bit for the younger guy that's coming up and trying to and thinking like, oh damn, because I used to think too, I want to be a firefighter, but I used to hold firefighters like on such a high pedestal and paramedics and stuff like that. It was almost an unattainable thing, when I first started thinking about it. But then you start going to the fire, you're young and stuff like that. But going to the fire station with dad and meeting the guys, and you realize, oh man, this guy's kind of a dork. I could probably do this. You know what I mean? But I think it helps to humanize it and let people know that it's a pretty normal job too,
Yeah.
in a lot of aspects too.
And I'm here because there was big brothers when I was growing up. They may not have ever qualified to be firefighters, but they were very protective of me.
Sure.
If
Yeah.
that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah, no, I
if
get it.
there was, gangs or the drugs and all that stuff, and it's like, no, you go to school, you get good grades. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You're the most feared guy in the streets, and at the end of the day, here you are trying to be a big brother and make sure I get good grades and stay out of trouble.
It's a big teddy bear.
Yeah, that worked out, right? Right. Yeah. Hey, so that being said, you came up on the job like around what, 90 or 91? So
90,
this is
90, yeah.
okay. Yeah, so this is you got a couple years on when the riots hit.
I was on probation, second house during the 92.
Oh, wow.
riots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's ironic because, Florence and Normandy, I grew up, Gage and Figueroa. And so
Right.
I know the area, I know the community, and
Yeah.
I know the whole
Yeah,
temperament.
that must have been something.
Where
It's
were you
phenomenal.
assigned at the time?
I was assigned at Fire Station 2s, which is East LA,
Sure,
but
yeah.
we had a very, what's the word, sort of cowboy, aggressive task force commander that took us right into Florence and Normandy. Probably.
Let's go, kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, you don't wait for a move up.
Didn't
They just
wait.
say,
We
Yeah.
just
"Oh, yeah."
That's some-
bolted right in, and we're
Some
talking
14 shit right there.
Boyle
That's
Heights
old
be
school,
damned.
right?
Actually,
But
was,
Cap, that's 4 districts over. Shut up. We're going.
he
Yeah.
was the TFC from 14s that got transferred to 2s, and so here
See,
we are.
it's all coming
Brought that
together.
with
It's
them,
all
yeah.
coming together.
Yeah.
So
So you, like I said, when we met, you were already studying for captain. You made captain.
right.
And what station did you promote to?
I promoted from Fire Station 15s, which is over in the USC campus area, and then I went to Fire Station 70, which was in the Northridge area by Northridge College.
Yeah, I just saw a thing. Was it on the news today? They had an apartment fire right across the street from the station.
Oh, for
70s?
Yeah.
Oh,
70s,
really?
Yeah, you saw him stage like out. I'm like, is that the station? Like, yeah, it was the station.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, like the apartments right across the street went up.
That's crazy.
Yeah, right? That's
It was
wild.
still a task force back then.
No, actually, I promoted into a triple, and then it was a battalion house, EMS, and then 1 rescue.
Oh, okay.
And so it might have broke up about a couple years before, and some of the guys went to 87s.
So when you first promote to captain, you're captain 1, which means you're in charge of an engine company.
Correct. Yes.
So the incident that we're going to talk about
Sure.
today, it's an incident where awards were given out to different members of the crew, different levels. For those of you that don't know, when you'll hear us talk about, or we've talked to guests in the past that have won, a Medal of Valor. There's different levels of medals and merits and stuff that they give you,
Right.
depending on how much of a risk you put yourself at in that situation, essentially, right?
Correct.
If you put yourself in harm's way where you could have 100% died in order to save this life, you get the Medal of Valor, which is here. And and there's different levels coming down. So in this incident, as a crew working together, multiple people on this call received awards for heroism for this. Let's take it just kind of to that day. This is a river rescue that we're talking about, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What was the day like leading up to the incident?
Well, the day was very interesting because I'm the probationary captain, but in our line of work, whenever there's an anomaly of things that are just out of the norm. So I had a seasoned captain working down in the hydrant spot. So he had a decade or more in rank with me. I had a seasoned captain working out of rank in the engineer spot.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And then I had one of my best medics on the engine with me, and he's soon to promote to be a captain, and he was on the captain's list.
A lot of
There's a
knowledge
whole
on that
brain
engine.
trust
Yes.
on this
And
day,
so
on
here
this
I
shift.
am, and I'm like, okay, I felt pretty good, but I just want to make sure that, we stayed focused and as safe as possible. And
Before we go on, just quickly, Cap mentioned hydrant member, nozzle member. So
Yeah,
just
I should explain how engine works.
Yeah, on an engine company. So you'll see, you always hear people say fire engine or fire truck. A lot of times I'll call the engine the truck, just kind of layman's terms.
Mm-hmm.
You have the hook and ladder truck, which is one company. You also have the fire engine that has the hose on the back. It has 4 members on it. Okay, the captain sits in the front passenger seat. The engineer drives, and he's in charge of controlling the pump and all the pressures that go to all the hoses and stuff like that. In the back seat, behind the captain, sits the nozzle member, and his job is basically her job is to basically grab the nozzle, get the nozzle to the front door, and put water on the fire. The hydrant member sits behind the engineer. Their job is to hook up to the hydrant as they're coming up. So typically those 2 guys that sit in the back seat are firefighters.
right.
And when you're on a paramedic engine, one of them is also a paramedic, and they have paramedic gear on them. But you're saying on this crew today, you basically had 4
Everyone was
captains on that
captains,
engine,
or about to be captains, yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very strong personalities, and I had the main responsibility to make sure everybody gets home safe. So
Sure.
the incident, and I have not really thought about it in depth, so thank you for the opportunities to go through my Rolodex of memory.
Sure.
That's what we do.
It was extremely emotional at the conclusion, because when you get the Medal of Valor, which I have never received, but I have a letter of accommodation, and my crew, rightfully so, who took unbelievable risk to save a life. And the circumstances presented it where we had to make that split-second decision, and then I get the look like, is it a go or no? Or do we just let this person perish right in front of us?
Sure.
So we get this dispatch to a physical rescue, which is normally through our dispatchers where 2 cars collide, and we have to wear our full turnouts and get prepared to use the jaws of life to extract somebody from a vehicle.
Right.
Right. And it's pouring rain. It's probably dumping an inch or two every half hour or so. So
Pull that mic just a little closer to your mouth. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. And where are you guys?
And you can pull it. It moves. Yeah.
Okay.
Just get comfortable and pull it.
Okay.
Perfect.
So we're in quarters having dinner. You can hear the rain. I mean, it's pouring cats and dogs at that time. And we get dispatched to this physical rescue assignment just south of our district.
Okay.
And just upon arriving on scene, maybe a block away, we made the right turn and we could see the crowd and they're standing over the embankment of the channel. I can't think of the name of the channel, but the channel.
Just looking over.
Just looking over. And our dispatcher, Metro at the time, said, well, we're changing it to a swiftwater incident. When we're just...
As you're pulling up, you're hearing that.
As we're pulling up.
Gotcha.
So what is it that happened?
So what ends up happening, that's a different dress attire. And now we're in full turnouts preparing for one incident. Usually it's filtered much better than that. And then it toggles over to this is a swiftwater. So as we pull up on scene, we could see the crowd pointing. And there's a gentleman hanging on what would appear to be the expansion beam, which is only a crack in the wall by his fingertips. And his friend has got like a tree branch draped over the fence so he can kind of grab on the one hand, and the water is probably 2 feet from the top and it's 17 feet up. So it's going about 40, 45 miles an hour.
Okay. And now you guys are behind the 8-ball because you're in full turnouts.
We're in full turnout.
Right, so for the people listening at home then, so we had, this is a single car or a 2-car accident?
No, actually it turned out to be a river rescue operation.
Oh, all together. There were no cars.
There was no cars.
So probably what happened is somebody, saw the crowd, saw people screaming, oh, shoot, oh, my God, looking over their balcony. Oh, there must have been a car accident. Hey, there's a car accident over here. Call 911.
Correct.
Right.
And then you get multiple calls after that. Right. They update on the way. Right. But like Cap said, now they're behind the 8-ball because, certain things
call for a physical rescue.
Yeah. Certain things call for certain attire. And when you're talking about a river rescue, you want to have tennis shoes on. You want to have a lot of grip. And there's just different things that we wear. There's different gear. There's life vests we wear, certain helmets we wear, certain equipment that we got to pull off, Right. But go ahead. So you pull up, and everyone's looking over.
And the qualifier in the sense of what would make this a Medal of Valor incident is the fact that with all our best efforts, with all our training, sometimes we tend to, I won't say recklessly, but we just throw caution into the wind and we just kind of go way off the skinny branches of the tree and just say, let's pray for the best. And that was definitely one of the situations. So here's the gentleman. So now we're getting off our fire resource. Another company pulls up that actually has Dillenberger, who's the AO, and his crew. So they had to cut through 2 chain link fence, work their way to the gentleman, and my crew's marrying up behind them. And what we end up doing was a swiftwater rescue operation over a vertical wall, which is considered by the swiftwater technicians an impossible rescue.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So we have we're in a channel, and this guy is how deep is he? Like waist deep, or
he's not waist deep. The water is raging under him, and he's holding on the expansion beam. He's totally horizontal, and the water's trying to snatch him off the expansion.
So we're talking about truly swift water working.
So it's 17,
17
if he
up,
falls,
if he's letting go, he's floating on top of the water.
Yeah.
It's 17 feet deep. So he's on top of 15 feet of water or so.
And the water's moving about 40, 45 miles an hour.
So water's moving and he's hanging on by his fingertips to an expansion joint.
And we were anticipating at some point, because the forces that can pull you to move you horizontal is moving 45 miles an hour, strip off all of his clothing, and hypothermia and the ability to have motion.
Right, to have the strength to hang on. Yeah.
Right.
Now, was he at a spot where if the water had taken him, he was going underneath the overpass? Is that what?
Yeah. He was headed to the overpass where we just came from.
Gotcha.
And chances are he probably would have got swept down miles, because we had other resources strategically placed several miles down.
It
so we had just enough time to try to get things set up, and he held on long enough, and then we made the decision.
It should also be said, man, that swift water rescue is a specialty. You know, we do have a swift water rescue team that goes out with, you know, it's part of the urban search and rescue team that you can call out. They have special equipment, special, you know, truck apparatus,
It's like a
stuff
week
like that.
class, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
week-long
And it's
training,
part
right?
of,
Yeah.
you got to go through it when you're getting your USAR certifications and all that stuff. But my point is, these aren't swift water specialists.
No.
You know what I mean? These aren't guys that are doing this, training this every day. I mean, you train it, especially when you're in an area that has a channel in it. It is something that you
drill
train.
it. Yeah.
But we drill, you know, typically on a weekend, on the weekends, we'll go out and drill in the morning and have, you know, a half day where we practice something.
Right.
And typically when you have when you have a channel in your area and you know weather's coming up, hey, you'll do it at the beginning of the season or something like that, just to dust off the equipment, make sure everything's there. You know,
Right. So you're
dust the
saying
cobwebs
this
off.
isn't the Swiftwater team. This is the first company that
These
showed
are the
up.
first normal.
They're ready to
companies,
rock.
exactly.
But it's also probationary captain.
Exactly. So
And
you
he's
have a
gotta make
lot. Yeah,
moves here.
you got
Yeah.
a lot of factors going on.
And I know the rules, and Swiftwaters play by the rules, which is what keep them safe.
Right.
And I know we're breaking 3 or 4 of the rules right now. And my crew, they had enough faith in this operation that we put together within seconds, because the gentleman's looking up at us. It's like, I'm not going to hang on to this much longer. I'm about ready to let go. So we proceeded with our procedure.
So let's talk about that procedure. What did you guys approach from the overpass, or how did that work?
Yes, we initiated from the overpass, and then there's sort of a service road, so we had to cut through 2 chain link fence to get further down where the member was, the patient was hanging on.
Now, is this one of those channels where, because there's some in LA, like the LA River, where they're pretty angled like that. This is one that was just a straight vertical wall, straight down.
Straight vertical wall. Yes.
Okay.
And he's about maybe almost a football field from the overpass. So we had to work down with all and we're still pretty much in our, fire equipment, some of us.
Sure, yeah.
And so Dillenberger stripped down to his work uniform, did a makeshift harness, put on a carabiner clip and tied onto a rope. Emil Williams was able to take a 24-foot ladder and then kind of pendulum it over the edge. And we were able to get a couple of anchors and rope lines to tie it to the ladder, and then throw the individual a rope so that he can kind of lasso himself just a little bit to buy a little bit more time.
Sure,
because the expansion beam kind of gave way, and then we made a decision. The decision, which I had to give the permission to do, was to deploy our member kind of like dangling off of his line into the water.
Worm on a fishing pole.
Yes.
He's dangling off his line that's attached to that ladder?
Attached to the ladder, or looped through the ladder, and then anchored
back to on the overpass.
On the concrete.
And the ladder's hanging off over the edge of the...
Correct.
Man.
Yeah, man.
And
then
you
the
said
ladder's kind of acting like a little bit of a brake bar, right? A little bit of resistance for that rope, for lowering him down, getting him up, stuff like that.
All right, and then we have our patient was hanging on that expansion beam. You said that gave way, but he had a line at that point.
He had the line.
So he's just hanging on a line.
He's hanging on a line. He was able to kind of twirl himself into the line, and then once my guy on the rope was able to deploy himself, he was able to sort of bear hug and kind of channel him underneath our ladder. But the forces are still trying.
I was going to say, so he's on that line being pulled.
Yes,
but the line is holding him.
Yes.
So wow. Dilly actually wound up in the water with him, hanging on to him in a bear hug, basically.
The bear hug, yes.
Wow.
And Dilly's taking a beating.
I'll bet.
Because the water is, it's literally like having somebody tethered to a speedboat, and then you're speeding around at 30 miles an hour, and they're just kind of
ripping through.
It's ripping.
And it's still raining.
Yes.
And he's just wearing his regular work uniform now.
And it's cold and it's hypothermic. And so we got a window of time now. So those are a couple of rules that were broken. Never deploy. There's a few things that we don't do, but we were now midway through the operation. Now the objective is to get everybody out safely before the hypothermia and or something gives way. And then the worst part is coming.
Okay.
So this is where we're at now.
Right.
So
he's in the water, bear hug with the patient.
Correct. And let me just say, man, as somebody who's gone through some Swiftwater training, okay, because like when I was working at 85s, I happened to get there right when they were starting their USAR training because they were going USAR when 5s went and 89s, and so we went through all that training and went through Swiftwater. Let me tell you something, man. Swiftwater rescue sucks. It sucks to physically sucks to go through and do it because just like Cap said, it's cold. Yeah. Everything you're grabbing and hitting, your hands are freaking numb, man. And you can imagine being cold and hitting them on metal or stuff like that.
And then you're getting pounded.
You're getting pounded by water. You're going under. You've got somebody that's frantic, and is worried about that. That's clawing at you and trying to grab hold of you. It's a very, very difficult operation, man.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And when it's a imminent, it's a deadly situation, and so generally when people are put into these components and then they're in a fight mode, your fight will only last so long, and then the exhaustion, and then you can actually succumb to the fact that you overexerted everything.
Sure, exactly.
And now you become lethargic and altered, and it's a whole nother dynamic.
Yeah, now it's a new operation to get you.
Yes,
yeah.
Right.
So now Dilly's in there. He's got this guy in a bear hug. He's a little bit tied off. Now you got to figure out how to get them both up and out of the channel.
Because they can't not physically pull themselves
exactly up. So how do you go about doing that?
Well, I mean, this is probably where I've earned most of the criticism of that was beyond reckless. What we had to do in the heat of the moment, because we're working with the time frame, is my 28 plus year captain who was working in the capacity of a firefighter was either going to be him or myself. We had to untethered in that moment, and he's partially in turnout pants, and he took his coat off, and then I took my coat off, and I grabbed my brush jacket. This is where you kind of say a little prayer, and you have that faith that, okay, something will happen. But they trust what we're about to do, and what we end up doing is the ladder that was pendulum over the edge was kind of free floating just above the water line.
Right.
With Emil Mack, 6'3", 250, strong as a bull, holding the top end of the ladder. So it's a lot of force of the water hitting the ladder, and he had to steady the ladder.
He's holding it on his own.
He's holding it on his own.
Okay.
I'm supervising. Dilly's in the water getting pummeled and starting to feel like this might not have been the best idea.
Oh, man.
The patient is kind of like, well, I think it's a good time to go to sleep, and I'm going to just go dormant. And it's like, no, we need a little bit more fight. And so I had to send my seasoned captain with twice as much time as I to walk down the ladder, untethered, floating on the edge or hovering on the tip of the ladder.
Holy shit.
Pendulumed with Emil Mack holding his body weight and the weight of the water to navigate them towards the ladder. And
to grab the line, basically.
To grab the rung of the ladder and possibly climb up the ladder. While we laid on the ground to try to reach down to bring their body weight up and out of the water.
I got you. So
yeah, no, I got it too, but damn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a risky move right there.
Dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't get the the helicopter footage. I would have loved to have seen footage because I know people were filming everything. And
sure.
It was a heroic save. My crew was amazing. And if you're talking about somebody who earned a Medal of Valor, that was it.
This is the four of you guys.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Wow.
We had the little drop bag on the other end where you can kind of throw it if they broke loose. So the patient went first. Dilly was kind of feeding from the bottom. My captain on the edge of the ladder was able to navigate and carry a portion of the weight upward of the patient. And then I was able to lay flat and then reach down and have the patient kind of climb up over me eventually. And then so we drug him up over the edge, broke him over. And then Dilly, same concept, he had a little bit more strength and was able to bring him up over the edge, and the chief was on the end. And
so they didn't necessarily climb the ladder up. They kind of guided against it to get to the edge, and you guys were able to pull them.
Correct, because where they were floating was about 3 or 4 feet from the edge. So you're kind of in that window. So he could have broke loose and snatched myself over the edge into the water
Yeah.
with no flotation device, no
You said you were untethered, yeah.
untethered. My captain on the end of the ladder could have broke loose. Emil could have kind of lost control of the force of the ladder over the weight he was carrying. He carried partial weight of Dill and the entire weight of the captain on it. So it's like 180 pounds with the force, pendulum over.
Yeah, and then add the force of the water.
And the force of the water.
Trying to work against everything you're trying to do, basically.
He's pendulum them, so he kind of can dip the tip of it just on the edge of the water and then bring it back up and kind of play that without snapping the ladder in half. And
oh my God, man!
It was
and
just,
holding it up while it's pouring on him.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was one of those moments, and every once in a while you have it where, I'm glad we're lucky.
Wow.
And that's kind of the trip about the fire department, that sometimes I'll sit back after a crazy incident or a busy day or something like that, and 30 minutes before you're sitting eating lunch,
right?
You're watching the local news and eating a sandwich and BSing with the guys, and the alarm goes off, and next thing you know, you're right, saying a little prayer and hoping you get home to see your kids again. It's a crazy profession, man.
Yeah,
where things like this can happen.
And there are moments where you can pick an emotion, and part of it is we became a little goofy, and but I was sobered by the reality of the weight of the command of an officer making a decision.
Sure.
And I know the wives and the children don't quite appreciate me utilizing their loved ones, even though I take the same inherent risk, because I would never ask them to do anything I wouldn't be willing to do.
Sure. I'm
very proud of them. They're definitely heroes. We don't use that term a lot, but we do know when we saw a hero move, and that was definitely it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
To make that plan that quickly, with those stakes. Yeah.
Well, it gets back to the reason why we train, and the old motto, train as if your life depends on it, because it does.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we do have, and Dilly, to his credit, he has been known to have that little creativity, because it was formulated out of his concept. I just had to approve it because I saw him gesturing the motions, and it's like, I got to go in and get him.
Sure, yeah. He probably had that in his back pocket.
Yeah.
Saw it in a seminar somewhere or something like that.
Very.
And that's the cool thing about guys that promote into those positions and stuff like that, and promoting to captain or AO on the fire department is those guys really love that job. Guys that take the time, take the year and a half that it takes to study and go through, the 2 years it takes to study and go through the process of promoting and stuff like that, especially to a position like captain or AO or engineer for that matter. Right. Those guys really love that stuff, and they're constantly learning. It's not just the department or on the job. They're going to seminars. They're, taking online classes for different rescues. There's different certifications. There's rescue experts that go around the country, giving seminars and stuff like that. And guys actually take these classes and, get little tidbits like this out of there. Yeah.
Because I'd never heard of that before, dangling a 24 over an overpass. That's wild.
And that's the other thing too, man, is like, sometimes you can practice 100 things 100 different ways, and that day you're going to get the 101st way that you're like, holy shit, I never even thought of this,
Yeah, right?
Yeah, how did this guy get, in cardiac arrest at the top of this palm tree, or, it's something crazy, and you just have to piece together the knowledge you've gained, over the years and try to figure out a way.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And that's kind of the fire department too. It's funny, man. It's like, fires, we go to fires, we go to medical calls, but we're kind of the people that they call when they don't know what the hell to do with things.
Exactly.
And it's fascinating because the chief that was working that day and the task force commander that was in charge of the Dilly, the AO, he says, man, you got him. You got my guys, go. And so that level of confidence for them to say, Boz, whatever you got to do, make it happen. And they're visually watching this from afar. Right. And hearing the radio traffic.
Right.
And they're looking at something and even the Swiftwater guys eventually showed up. And they got their, tricks and toys and, all their devices. But they probably would not have ever done that. And they're the specialists. They would, because the first thing out of their mouth was, that is about as reckless of operation I've ever seen.
Sure. Yeah.
So
usually by the time they get out there, that guy's probably
Yeah,
down the
gone.
river.
yeah, you would have got that guy out of San Pedro, which is about 65 miles away.
Yeah, exactly.
'Cause that's generally where that current will take him.
Yeah, it's a
For
trip,
miles.
man. It's a river rescues are a trip because you'll get it too. You'll get it, where we'll get it down on the west side,
Yes.
for river rescues 62s. But the guy fell in somewhere way upriver.
Right.
But you have to, as a department, you got to plan for that. You got to plan for like,
Yeah, he's gonna
what if
make
you don't
it
catch him
down.
at this point? You got to
Yeah.
have these guys way
Be set up.
river set up already. You know.
And even in that setup, I mean, there's certain catch points, but I mean, the survivability just plummets tremendously.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The risk we took was to get hands on the patient and victim and just control the moment.
Sure.
Because
Yeah,
once we
before he
lose
got
the
away
moment,
from you.
it's a wrap.
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
ironically because I work with Calvillo and Dillenberger, and to this very day I just had lunch with them just this morning, and we glance at each other and
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
go
you
back.
always have
we
that,
go
man.
back to that day.
Sure.
Every blue moon.
Yeah. Well, man, what a crazy story. It's a crazy incident.
Yeah.
I know. I remember when it happened, and the story was going around. Everyone kind of going, "They did what?"
Yeah.
And then obviously you hear, the chirping, about all the things you did
Sure.
wrong. You always get that. But all in all, you guys saved the life. Now, the guy that you rescued, did you ever? What was his story? How did he wind up there? Was he
What's
a homeless
interesting-
guy? Or?
Yeah, it was an encampment, and the first rains generally flush out, the homeless community that lives inside the riverbed area. And, PD usually has protocols, and probably more so after this event, is prior to the rains, they sort of evacuate them out and give them a safe refuge into the rain that's coming past. And I think that was one of the byproducts from our event.
Sure.
Incident.
Okay.
But yeah, his partner, his buddy, his homeless buddy was kind of trying to track him, and he eventually got the tree branch and the expansion beam and bought us just enough time because he had traveled quite a little bit just to get to that spot.
Oh, okay.
So
So he didn't originate there.
No, he didn't originate there because
wow.
he was far removed from his encampment that he got probably a couple football fields before he actually was able to get to that location. His friends bought a little time. And in our industry, there's a certain gut response, and we just move on it. And until you're that guy in that gut response, you generally try not to judge it.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you look back and go, "Whoa, shit."
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Before we get done here today, I wanted to talk to you about another project that you do with the department. The is it peer counseling?
Well, what it is, a behavioral health program. Our behavioral health program is comprised of our department has invested in clinical psychologists. A good segue from
Yeah. I was going to say you kind of fumbled that segue a little bit there.
Oh,
but,
sorry.
Yeah.
The behavioral health theme and even the traumatic aspect of, say, a Medal of Valor call, it can leave impact on us.
Right.
Whether we save a life, lose a life, and it's just a career or a lifetime of saving and losing lives.
Yeah, like this time it worked, but if it hadn't,
right.
Now you have this other section of the department.
Sure. And in the course of our career, in that very day, I mean, that was a very heroic save. It had a lot of implications. Everybody went home safely, but that day consisted of several fatalities that we had throughout the day, in the course of the day, and it's just the natural flow of what we do. With that being said, in the fire service, the leading cause of death for firefighters in the last few years has been suicide. And so the behavioral health component is the prevention. Suicide prevention was the catalyst on, what could make us kind of reach that breaking point. And the, accumulative effects of our career and the, traumatic impacts that we've been exposed to, it kind of wears you out, like your tires on your car,
Yeah, you have to understand too that we're seeing things on the level of, I would say, a wartime soldier.
I call it biblical.
Yeah. I mean, it's and the fire department as a whole, historically, is a very macho organization.
Right.
Doesn't matter what city you're in. Doesn't matter what time period in history you've been. It's always been a macho organization and occupation. And talking about your feelings isn't always something that's been accepted, you know, or welcome with open arms.
Absolutely.
You know, you suck it up, you bite your lip, and you move on. Hey, buddy, you know, there's no crying in baseball. There's definitely no crying in firefighting.
Right.
Even talking about it has a cool, tough sounding name, Critical Incident Stress Debriefing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Sounds like a NCIS.
And I've always, and I've talked about this on my social media in the past. It's always the first question you're asked when somebody asks what I do, and I tell them, hey, I'm a firefighter paramedic. Oh, what's the craziest shit you ever seen, man?
Yeah, they're crazy.
What's the craziest call you ever been on? It's like, you don't want to know. In all honesty, you don't want to know the craziest call I've been on, man. It would ruin your day.
Yeah.
You know?
Unlike movies where you could see the most graphic scene, somewhere in your psyche, you can walk out of the movie theater and say, well, okay, that's just Hollywood. It was make-believe.
Right.
Exactly.
But if you ride with me for a day, that is as real as it gets, and the humans and the people and the collateral damage is devastating, and people's lives are significantly impacted, and we're part of that, the emotional component. And so to
absolutely
put all the pieces back together so that we can stay human, our behavioral health team is comprised of several clinical psychologists. Our team lead is one of the main doctors that's been involved with firefighters, and it's specifically for first responders, mainly firefighters. And we have a reach all throughout the entire nation, from Sacramento all the way to San Diego, and peer support teams are sprouting out in every department. Ours happens to be one of the largest ones. And
it's really awesome to see the direction the department's moving with that too. Absolutely. Because not only have they implemented the peer support group that just started. How long ago did it start? Just like 5-6 years ago, right?
I would know. It actually started when I'm going to say in the 80s, when a 747 landed in LAX on top of another plane and killed like 35 plus people. We knew then, when we were on scene of that event in the 80s, I wasn't there at the time,
right.
With that type of tragedy and death count, that there would be some impact.
Sure.
And so the program started way back then. It went through a lot of different evolutions, and in the last 5 years, or 3 to 5 years, I've been involved with it, and it just bloomed from there, because within the last 3 to 5 years, the leading cause of death has been suicide.
Yeah.
And so this sense of not giving our guys the proper outlet to release the impact was criminal in a sense.
Yeah.
It was negligent on many different levels. It was like the River Swiftwater Rescue, a tad bit reckless until we correct it.
Sure.
So we have a good outcome.
It's there's a lot of different things that you deal with. Like we said before, the things we see, obviously, you see death every day, mangled, bodies, you name it,
right.
Shooting, stabbings, incinerations, decapitation, whatever, you name it, dead old people, dead kids, you see it all.
Yep.
But then you have the other aspect. It's a very physical job also. It's akin to being a professional athlete, man. You go from, you run your body from 0 to 100, when the alarm goes off multiple times a day. Correct. And so, you get injuries that go along with that. You're home with injuries. What's the epidemic of the pandemic right now, but the real epidemic before that was opioids, and painkillers and people being addicted. So you get a lot of people that get injuries, go home. There's the depression that goes along with being incapacitated,
right.
Being home. Typically guys on the job are type A personalities that are very motivated and, like to get up and work out and get, have a full day's work. And so you have that aspect too. I've had a classmate that died the same way from suicide.
Yeah, we had that guy we knew. Yeah. Right.
But it was kind of the same deal. He had a medical issue that came up, and it affected his everyday life, and it led to a depression. That it happens every day,
absolutely,
all across the country,
absolutely.
And so, having a department moving in that direction, they also opened the wellness center up at.
Absolutely, we repurposed one of our previous fire stations in the city in their grace with our union said, no, you can repurpose it for this particular need. And the need is beyond, and what I think it's definitely so amazing about this program is it really repurposes myself and others like us to really just hear that frequency, because any one of us who makes that drastic decisions in their life, they've been crying out and letting out a lot of indicators.
I was
If
gonna ask
anybody
you.
paid it, if you've either tuned in on that frequency, or you paid attention, or you just did the right check-ins and you made it okay to not be okay. And I have to give them, my, praises to, Chief Ralph Terrazas to have that vision, to have that thought, and to encourage guys like myself and all the peers and the team to really bloom, because we've always wanted to help each other. I want to save my guys first ever since I put on a uniform.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, of course we save lives, but when we watch our guys, buried, it's beyond impactful.
Right.
And that's kind of where the peer group, I think, is so important compared to just like speaking to a therapist, outside of the department, or somebody who doesn't know really what it's like to wear the uniform and to do the job on a 24-hour basis.
Make a huge difference.
But
I mentioned it, at our dad's retirement dinner. We all got up there and gave speeches and stuff, and we all lived through, being a firefighter's kid.
Sure.
I'm the only one that actually went on and worked for the fire department. And so I said that in my, speech was, I'm glad that we had that connection, because it is one of those things, one of those jobs where you have no idea, man, unless you've done it, unless you've been in a firehouse and you've been to those incidents with this group of guys and you've developed that relationship, that bond, and you've seen what you've seen with them, and you go through that experience together. You have no idea what it's like. So to have a group within the department of guys that have a little bit of training on how to approach these things and how to talk about these things constructively, but also have the background of, hey man, I know exactly what you're going through. I know exactly what you're feeling.
To be able to be effective. Yeah.
It's something that's priceless, man. I think, and that you wouldn't normally get outside just speaking to a therapist on your own.
Right. Yeah, because you can kind of, and I tend to do the subtle. It's like, oh yeah, you look like you got it all together now. It's good. It's good. That's a great camouflage. How about at 2 a.m. when you're looking in the darkness and you relived it and you just came out of the dream?
Yeah, exactly.
The dream,
exactly,
where you kind of back there again. Yeah, that moment, and you think that you're absolute. Not even your wife sleeping next to you have a concept that you are back in the trauma.
Yep.
Your fight or flight, your brain, your heart race is going. A million miles an hour in the middle of the night, and that cannot quite be healthy. And you can't quite vent this out to every firefighter, because the training that we're exposed to can just actively listen.
Sure.
No answers, no solving, just hear the guy out or gal out and steer them on the right path to recovery.
Sure.
I call it the blessing and the curse. We're blessed. And I sit on some of the interviews where the entry level, brand new firefighter, 18 years old, 20 years old, just gave his best 100 score interview. And I shake his hand and I congratulate him with one breath. And then I mourn for him on the other, because I'm going to see him 3 years from now at the Boyd incident, where they're all near-death experience.
Sure.
Right.
And he's going to be a different guy.
Yep.
Yep.
Now the innocence is gone.
I think people don't realize too how much that affects so many other aspects of your life. It's just like Boz said earlier. A lot of the stuff you see, and you don't want to take that home and talk to your kids about it or your wife about it. You know what I mean? And put it on there. Yeah. So you just kind of store it, and that stuff weighs after a while. It weighs on your soul, weighs on your heart. Yeah. And it can affect you. It can cause depression. It can cause issues with your marriage.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's like the standing joke, with the fire department. Have you gone through your divorce yet?
Yeah. Or how many?
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of guys do take that home. They fight with their wives. They'll yell at their kids. They'll drink, use drugs, stuff like that. Yeah. And the wellness center has all that stuff kind of under the same roof.
Right.
They have marriage counseling. They have just therapists there, psychologists there
Yes.
that you can speak to if you feel like you're having any issues.
Yeah.
They have drug treatment specialists, alcohol treatment specialists. They can help you to get into treatment programs if you need to. It's kind of all-encompassing under one roof
that's
place.
awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
Hey, so Boz, so now when you're working, when you're on a shift, can you kind of like pick up on things from other guys where like this guy might need help? He might need services. Like you can hear certain phrases or something. You're like, and you're more dialed into that now.
Well, it's interesting. The I want to say the reversed effect happens because every member in this department, because the fire chief in his vision would put peers or myself or the team leads in very important meetings and conferences. So that awareness and that acceptance and the certification and authorization we have. So most of the discussions kind of start a little bit like this. We get the fire pit going and we chop it up. And one guy can actually be therapeutic to the other guy if we're having an emotionally intelligent, mature discussion. And back to the big brother thing, big brother really wouldn't expose his little brother to, like throw him in front of a moving bus.
Right.
But he wants to sharpen them and make them stronger. So the blessing and the curse is we have a blessing to have an awareness. The curse is we're able to do greater and bigger, more things and recover and give a greater service. And you go deeper down the rabbit hole, which in
more
turn
situations
puts you through more situations. Or when a crisis explodes, like the Boyd incident, the first thing they're screaming for is the behavioral health, mental health, get up here on scene now, because we're debriefing them spontaneously as the events is occurring and continuously. And the guys are totally open to it because that is their outlet.
Okay.
And they know now they can taste the difference between being irritable, insomnia, snappy at their families versus going through therapy. And part of the therapeutic aspect is, hey, can you sit down with your 5-year-old and color in a coloring book? Can you actually be innocent again?
Yeah.
And in the moment. Yeah.
And present.
So using like the Boyd incident as an example. So how would it work then? Do they send you guys
I was on scene of that one.
You're on scene.
Correct.
Okay.
No.
But on scene in that capacity, or you're on scene like as a captain in
Actually, I was working on Rescue 6 with one of my members, another medic.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And they
wow.
they were looking for peers, and the IC called, and I just happened to be in staging like 10 seconds away. So I went up to the command post, and every chief looked at me, and he knew exactly my role.
Sure, yeah.
So you think you got
but
a
that's what
firefighter.
they try to do is get somebody there as soon as possible.
Normally, yes. But once you hear the cracking of the voice and even the command, they've been impacted.
Yeah, exactly.
So they need a voice to go, okay, this is not the worst, that dream you had the other day, because it feels like the dream. This is actually real, and here's the sequence of what we need to focus on.
It should be said, too, man, that for those that are listening, is you don't have to wait till you're in a position where you're having issues at home or it's affecting you to the point where you're like, shit, I think I need help.
Right.
I'm not sleeping, I'm testy, I'm stuff like that. The power of talking about these things, man, just prophylactically and getting out in front of it and just talking, whatever. It could be a biweekly talk with a psychologist or therapist, or a monthly.
Yes.
Sit down once a month and talk. Just get it all off your chest. Anything that's bothering you. You have no idea how much that helps keep your sanity in a job like this when you're exposed to all the different stressors that we are.
Absolutely. And it's safe from the aspect that our peers are constantly debrief, because the vicarious trauma of being very, exposed to their Rolodex of the little horror shows that they've gone through, you got to actually be really diligent in the therapy on yourself.
Yeah.
You got to be fit for duty, and this is a special kind of duty. So if you got the heart for it, you just throw down and engage, and we give you the perfect platform. We have totally shit, in my humble opinion, all aspect of the stigma that, I'm not crazy. Yeah, everybody's crazy who's carrying a badge.
Yeah, exactly.
I promise you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can
not
show
a
you
normal person.
It's a good crazy. I mean, it's an identity thing, but for the most part, I mean, and the reason I say that is that it's possible for whoever is listening, we could bring the joy back into this craft. Sometimes it has sucked all of the kind of emotional theme.
Yeah.
You know, the empathy, the compassion. It could shift you in such a way that you don't realize how stoic or stonewall you have become.
Yeah.
And so it can bring back a little bit of the childlike joy for the work that we do. It's just a matter of caring enough for them.
Sure, yeah.
It's simple.
Well,
Makes a lot of
shoot.
sense.
Man, that was a good episode.
Yeah.
That was a great
Eye-opener.
conversation. Yeah, great
Yeah, you're
conversation,
awesome,
Boz.
man.
Well, thanks. I mean, I love this work. And if I would retire tomorrow, I would volunteer. And we do take retired volunteers at any point because our retirees, thousands of them on a national level, they're struggling because that identity of who we were and their whole...
Yeah. Oh,
It's a
dude, it's
shift.
such a trip. How many guys you see, you know, we get death notices when
Right.
anybody that's retired or anything dies.
Right.
But how many guys you'll see, the death notice come out and it's like, shit, they just retired like 3 years ago, man.
Right.
Yeah,
Man,
no.
you know,
There's
because it's there's a lot for a lot of guys, man. It's their whole life.
They say that's why the
their whole
pension's so
identity.
good.
What's that?
That's why the pension's so good because they
Yeah.
don't expect to pay it that long.
Yeah.
No,
yeah,
you're right.
Probably
Yeah.
is.
From
yeah.
the time you get hired, there's almost a set formula that you, especially the busier assignments, you know, life expectancy, unless we can shift that. I think ultimately the quality of life will have an impact on the longevity. But if no one really heard the challenges, then you start to kind of lose that will, and then you shift into retirement and you're sedentary and your purpose shifts. It makes it difficult.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. If there are people out there listening that want to access these kind of services, is there a website or number we can drop?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. LAFD.org, we have our behavioral health program, and our teams are listed on that website. And
Perfect.
And yeah,
All right. Awesome. Appreciate
right.
you coming, man.
it's an
This is
honor.
great.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you for spreading the great words, and I love the platform, and I can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, it's great to
Appreciate
have
it,
you
man.
on, man.
Thank you.
Anything else that you want to plug or promote before we get out of here?
No, I just, once again, Chief Terrazas, Freddie Escobar, our union, our fire department, you know, they really, as we say, put on their big boy pants, and we grew up in the last 5 years
Sure.
in regards to having the emotional intelligence of getting our guys and gals back home, sound mind, sound body.
Yeah.
And that's more than just chit chat. You have to walk the walk.
Yeah. Who knows
definitely.
how many people you guys have saved through this?
Oh my God.
You know,
yeah.
without.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Because of crisis, and we are a lead agency for just about every other fire department within California because that work travels.
I mean, a lot of times across the nation. I mean, we're one of
yeah, for
the
sure.
biggest fire departments across the nation.
Mhm.
A lot of times, a lot of other departments, you know, take a look and
yeah.
This podcast is also huge, and it's probably going to set, you know, a wave of
Absolutely.
mental health
Totally.
awareness.
I mean,
Yeah,
all
just
these
based on this
huge
episode.
departments probably heard this.
Yeah, you know?
Absolutely. It's a
All right.
it's a pleasure meeting you, Ben.
Pleasure meeting you,
Dan,
Boz.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great having
Ben,
you
where
on.
can they find you?
You can follow me at Ben9Humor, Ben9Humor on Instagram and Twitter. Danny.
You can follow me at Danny Gonzo34 on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, the opinions expressed here are our own. They do not reflect those of the Los Angeles City Fire Department or the LA County Department of Health Services.
Follow the show at PRCPod on Instagram and Twitter, or email us your comments, complaints, or questions. Contact prcpod@gmail.com. You also have these amazing Please Remain Calm t-shirts.
Hot off the market. Hot off the
Parting gift for
presses.
Boz here as our
Yes,
guest
sir.
here. You know?
Thank you very much.
Looking sharp. This is
Please
in
remain-
double cameras now. It's
This
going to look
is
very
awesome.
cool on YouTube. $20 for Merch and Rescue Pack where you get one of these hot shirts and a Please Remain Calm sticker.
That is
All
awesome.
right.
Hit us up, DM. And
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. Hey. All right. Hey. Yeah, I mean. Hey. Please do remain calm. About to run against fitting with a little bit of soul, no times.